Not one of us gets to choose to be born into this world, or who our parents are, the color of our skin, whether or not we will be a boy or a girl. We all come in just as equal as the next person, given only the life that lays ahead of us. Well, not in the eyes of the society we live in, where we are programmed from the moment we get here to view the differences in people and as to how they should be treated or the rights they may deserve. This is the result of how social oppression has impacted the world and affects everyone at some level. Some people, though, choose to reject the views that were forced on them. Many do not. If things are ever going to be any different, people will have to think for themselves and work together to change the traditions that have created the problems in the world today. As for me, I was born a white male in a small Louisiana town where racism was very prominent. I went to an elementary school with majority black students, so I was a minority in that setting. I had lots of problems there and eventually got kicked out of that school. Then was moved out to live on a farm and was in a different school zone. Many more people like me went there. I felt the effects that Haro mentions in his cycle of socialization, very heavy on me from a young age. People would say blacks are bad, and whites are good, girls are not strong. Always have some form of control over the poor or less fortunate people in the community, helping them to stay in the position of power and surrounding themselves with hand-picked friends of theirs. Even when someone else may very well be more qualified for the job or position, and in doing so would never allow people to reach their full potential. I was personally passed up for a position, even after being the senior employee, with more knowledge and skills to offer, only to have a close personal friend of the supervisor get hired and then asked to train him. This is a system that is repeated across the world. Just because you might not fit in for whatever reason, you will remain in the cycle of social oppression. We are all born equal in this world, but depending on where we are and what the status quo in that area is, will have a major influence on who we grow to be as adults. We have to contend with race, sex, sexuality, religion, social status, abilities or disabilities, and this forms the systematic training of how to be talked about by Haro as he introduces the cycle of socialization. In this cycle, we learn how the people that raise us pass on to us some inherited traits that shape who we are, build our character as men and women, and provide for us trust in mankind, or lack thereof. And to further our development, we are sent to schools to learn what they tell us to learn their way, to dress a certain way, or not to do things that they don't approve of, to follow their schedule for your day, and given very little free will to make these choices for yourself, because they would lose control over you if you were to deviate from the routine that is set for you, and thus never allowing you to decide for yourself if what you're being told to live by is accurate information or not. This is what the norm wants from society, to just follow what they are being told, do what they are told, act how they are being told to, and to not be resistant to the people who have been elected to govern and enforce these laws. As I've gone through life, I've always felt that there was more to what I was told. So I questioned a lot of things. I noticed that things were not always equal for everyone, that I was being held down and restricted on my potential and accomplishments. I always felt like I could do more. I can do that. People that have created the system continues to put people who share the same ideas and mindsets in charge of the government, in large businesses, even in military leadership positions, and thus further strengthening the hold on society and the oppression that has been created as a form of control over the people of the world. We are all born equal. One man's life should not hold more value than another man's life, but depending on the color of his skin, or his sexual orientation, or who he may call God, or if he just accepts what he's being told to believe, are some of the reasons that people in power use to measure us. And anyone who goes against what the norm has set out for us to follow is immediately criticized and labeled as a troublemaker and called the problem, the cause of the problem. With their efforts to deviate from the norm and to expose the system of control that everyone has accepted. But for some, this is not the way of life they choose to live. They will not just sit quietly and be told how to live their life and settle for anything less than they feel they deserve. Some of us try harder and want more and are not afraid to take risks in life that will make a difference in the quality of life. Do not let the socialization oppression determine what I should have or how much or who I can be with or what kind of career I'm limited to. To quote Tatum, we deal with the process located in the core of the individual and yet also in the core of his communal culture. In psychological terms, identity formation employs a process of simultaneous reflection and observation, a process taking place on all levels of mental functioning, by which the individual judges himself in the light of what he perceives to be the way in which others judge him in comparison to themselves, and to a typology significant to them. So, we are all born with this ability to decide what kind of person we choose to be, the choices we will make, and the lifestyle we will choose to live. Do not let other people's opinions have any control over the things we accomplish or resist, or systems that we decide to change to reduce the oppression that has been holding so many back for so long. I personally am not one for conformity. I don't like to be told that I can't do something. I don't like to just go with the flow of the general population. I'm strong-minded and I have my own ideas and preferences as to how I make my own decisions. I'm not a follower. I do have strong leadership potential and am very outspoken when it comes to me voicing my opinion on certain matters that I will be affected in the outcome of. I'm not afraid of the system and choose not to live life with limits on what I am allowed to do or how much I can have. I strive to be the exception in most situations, doing the right thing and helping others, or just being kind to people, just having good intentions and a bright outlook for where I'm headed with life, and hoping that others notice some of these qualities and learn the value of living this way. Not to be oppressed or restricted by barriers that exist in the world, but not to expect anything more than what you feel you have earned. In conclusion, both authors, Haro and Tatum, have made clear that social oppression is a very real and powerful system that begins its control on people from the moment they are born, that people actually allow it to happen by continuing to believe what they are told and not questioning why. Tatum describes the concept of identity as how those around us see us, and that their view of who we are influences our concept of self and determines how well we do in life, the chances we are given, and the path that we are led to follow. But in a personal situation, I totally relocated geographically, and was then seen by new people with cultural differences than where I came from. I was viewed totally different and allowed for a better concept of self and created a new outlook in dealing with new people in new places. Everywhere you go, things will be a little different. Different cultures, different races, they all have their own ideas, ways of doing things, and how they view and interact with new people. In most of my traveling across the United States, 37 states that I've been through, so far I have met many interesting people, all with their own methods. Many have been very kind and welcoming. Some others have been oppressed so much that they don't know any other way of life than to do as they're told and not ask why. There are some that have a lot of hate and aggression that reflects the way that they treat others and conduct themselves in society. We don't have control over what people think or how they conform to the system of control that affects our treatment of other people and how we view them in society. The dominant people in society have created this system to ensure that they will remain at the top of the ladder, having a better life, a better job, the best schools, the endless opportunities that would never be available for the subordinates to receive. A clear division in how people in power positions act toward anyone they see as below them, and make no effort to offer any opportunities that may be beneficial to their success. The insubordinate society has been forced into the lifestyle and held there by the control of the dominants. Until something happens to change this balance, when certain people see things differently and start to question why things can't be different, that there could be a better way to do things, could be a lot better for people and not just ones in control. So once people start to understand how they are being oppressed and stop accepting what they are given and fight for what is right and what they deserve, for everyone to have the same opportunities to succeed, to not be judged based on gender, race, sex, etc. Throughout history, there have been few activists that have made efforts toward reducing the amount of corruption in the government. Some stood up for causes that they felt were significant and needed to be changed or stopped completely. Some people have dedicated their life's work to try to promote peace and prosperity throughout the world. I agree with this effort to promote peace and increase human kindness toward one another. It's got to start with every one of us, our attitudes towards being open for changes, and to be the ones actually making the change for the better. To say hell no to what you were told was right, and decide for yourself what to believe and how to make things better for everyone.